What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my Big Ten power rankings for after Week 6. Again, not a lot of meaningful games last week. It just was not an eventful week. There were some pretty interesting games and even an upset that I talked about on Sunday. But again, I'm just going to give you my overall thoughts on this team and overall thoughts on the teams and where they stand as of right now. There already has been one game canceled next week. You'll find out what that is as the power rankings go along. But we do not have a new bottom team in the Big Ten. Even after the bottom team won this week, and it's going to stay the Penn State Nittany Lions because for me, the team above them, it might be their only win of the season. However, it is still a win, and a win is a win. But this Penn State team finally got it together this week, was able to pull off a 27-17 victory against the Michigan Wolverines. Now they get Rutgers in their next game. Could be a fairly interesting one to watch. Penn State has not performed the best this season, while Rutgers has been a nice surprise. I do believe Penn State's going to end up being favored in that game. That's just my opinion. I haven't looked at lines yet, but alas, that's where I feel like that is heading. When you look at their stats overall, in terms of the points per game category, that could use some work in terms of the yardage per games. I mean, they're doing fine. It's just I don't know what has plagued this Penn State team, but they finally got it together. Maybe they can build some momentum with that game against Rutgers. I really don't have much more to say about Penn State, but the reason they are still at number 14 is because the team that dropped 2 spots from last week to number 13 gets the edge barely because of the win against Penn State. It's the Nebraska Cornhuskers who lost 20-26. Also, a reason I did not put them below Penn State was because the way that they held their own against Iowa in that game. You'll also see why they're at number 13 when we look at where Iowa is later in this video. But, I mean, Iowa's playing some really good football right now, and Nebraska held with them, even outgained Iowa. Yes, I know it was only by 16 yards, but regardless, outgained the Hawkeyes. And they get the Boilermakers next. They're going to travel to Indiana to play Purdue. Should be an interesting one. Purdue is coming off some tough losses. I think they're going to be an angry team. Again, I'll preview games more on Thursday. When you look at the Huskers stats, it's not great. And in year 3, I believe it's year 3 of Scott Frost. You guys can correct me down in the comment section down below. But year 3 of Scott Frost, you'd expect them to maybe be a little bit better, but they just haven't performed up to standards. And Nebraska's got to change something here in these last couple games to really turn people's opinions around. While I don't think they're going to fire Scott Frost, I think he's got to get his act together. Nebraska's got to get better within some years. Otherwise, Huskers program might be without yet another head coach. Nebraska is going to be at number 13. Held their own against Iowa, though. I think that's a good step in the right direction. I told you guys Rutgers just likes this number 12 spot. They stay here even after beating Purdue. Yes, I know they came back to win the game, but I was not thoroughly impressed with the way Rutgers played that game. Who I was impressed with was Shameen Jones, who has emerged as a number 2 wide receiver for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights behind Bo Melton. Now, of course, we all know about Noah Vega. Whether he's going to play, that might make an impact on this Rutgers team, but Sitkowski looked great in that game, and even Johnny Langan came in and threw a couple passes. So this Rutgers team looks like it might be set. An interesting one again next week with Penn State. We'll have to see where that one goes. While Rutgers might be scoring points, they're not really gaining a lot of yards, and their defense does definitely need some work. And that's, I think, a big reason why Rutgers has 4 losses is because of their defensive effort. If their defensive effort would have just been maybe a little bit better, I feel like Rutgers could have gotten some more wins. But regardless, I don't know when Rutgers is going to move out of this 12th spot. Maybe with a win against Penn State, they might. But Rutgers, again, going to stay at number 12. The Michigan Wolverines are at number 11. And again, they're at number 11 because of the win over Rutgers. So Rutgers would have moved ahead, but Michigan has the head-to-head advantage. Now, Michigan has paused all football activities after dropping 3 spots from last week's rankings and also receiving some positive COVID tests. So the game against Maryland is in limbo. However, nothing as of recording this video has been officially announced quite yet. In terms of their offense, I mean, they're looking pretty good. They're in the middle of the pack in both major categories in the Big Ten. But in terms of defense, that's where it needs some work. Don Brown's defense has not been the typical Don Brown defense, and I really don't have a good explanation of why that is. This Michigan team is just struggling. It's the struggle bus for the Wolverines this year. They just got to pull it together. This Maryland team can explode on offense, and I think they're going to take advantage of that Michigan defense saying that the game gets played. But if not, Michigan very well might stay at number 11 for the rest of the season if that game, and then maybe even if the Ohio State game gets canceled, we don't know. But we hope Michigan can get onto the field. But after that loss against Penn State, where they looked just awful, I mean, they could not get anything going against Penn State. Their defense was bad. Their offense was bad, except for Hassan Haskins. He played well, but nothing going. Michigan's got to turn it around. They're going to be at number 11 and then the double digits if they don't. Last team in the double digits is the Illinois Fighting Illini, who had to deal with a cancellation because of positive tests within the Ohio State program. They find themselves 2-3. And I think Illinois is a better team than people say. I've seen a lot of power rankings lists come out this week where Illinois is 13th, 12th, maybe even still last place, which I don't get. I feel like Illinois is a better team than people are giving them credit for, especially with Brandon Peters at the helm and with Imator Bebe out there as well. I think Mike Epstein is underrated, as is Chase Brown. Illinois has just got a lot of good playmakers that are not necessarily grade A playmakers, but they get the job done, and they get the job done well. Now, they do get Iowa next week. It's going to be a very tough game for Illinois to win, but if they come out on top, trust me, Illinois is going to move up a lot in next week's rankings. When you look at their stats, you might not be impressed with what you see, but remember, they were dealing with some positive tests earlier this season. Main reason why they have 3 losses, if they didn't, they might be 3-2. I don't know how much better this Illinois team can get. They're playing some crazy good football right now for this Illinois program. Sorry. They're not playing super good football, but they're playing, I think, some of the better football that for the talent this Illinois team has, better football they can play. They are staying here at number 10. Again, you don't penalize them for not playing this week. This game against Iowa could be an interesting one to watch. Might I pick an upset? Maybe, maybe not. You'll have to find out on Thursday. Illinois, for right now, is going to stay at number 10. At number 9, moving up 4 spots after the upset win over the Northwestern Wildcats, is the Michigan State Spartans. And I was hesitant to move this team up so far as to number 9. I was considering number 10, maybe moving Illinois up, but I don't know. I mean, this Michigan State team, the story all season has been turnovers. They've turned the ball over a lot. But the games that they don't turn the ball over, hence Michigan and then Northwestern, they win the game. So I don't know what to think about this Michigan State team. It's a really hard team to figure out, and this is where the lack of offense showed up for Northwestern. They couldn't get offensive production going when Michigan State's offense got rolling, and Michigan State's defense is good enough that they can stop a mediocre offense like Northwestern. I think a big reason why they came out of that, on top of not turning over the football. But again, this team is still very, very hard to figure out. I don't know what this team is going to be able to do next week against Ohio State, who in my opinion is a much more talented team than Northwestern. Maybe not on the defensive side, but surely on the offensive side, that defense will be tested. And if the offense turns over the ball, this defense is too good. They will make you pay, and also the offense is too good not to turn those turnovers into points. Hence, maybe the game gets played this week, maybe it doesn't. Hopefully it does. I know my Buckeyes are looking to get back on the field, and I know Michigan State is as well. State at number 9. Not going to say a whole lot about Minnesota, although they do move up 1 spot. After canceling the game against Wisconsin. Now they have already canceled the game against Northwestern. That's why I've already put in the NC for no contest. When you look at their stat strength, again, same as last season, or excuse me, same as last week. I don't have much to say about Minnesota, but I am going to keep drilling them about their defense. I know you guys don't want to hear it anymore, but I'm still going to keep drilling Minnesota about their defense. Their defense has got to change if they want to get over 500. Now, again, not playing this week didn't help their case at all. Who knows if they're going to play again this season. But Minnesota, again, you don't penalize them They even move up just because teams ahead of them lost and they moved up. But now this is going to be 2 weeks in a row. Minnesota's going to miss. We hope they can get back on the field a week from now. But again, you will hear me talk about the cancellation a little later in this video and also on Thursday. Minnesota at number 8. At number 7, I didn't move the Purdue Boilermakers because I can't drop them below Minnesota. I know the head-to-head, but Minnesota didn't play this week. And also I feel like Purdue got gypped in that game, which I've already kind of beaten over the head with way too much. Their loss against Rutgers, in which they were controlling the game for pretty much the entirety of those first 3 quarters, and then Rutgers took advantage in the fourth. Maybe a little bit of the third quarter swayed toward Rutgers as well, but Purdue just coming off 2 disappointing losses. That game against Nebraska, I expect them to be angry. I expect them to come out with an attitude. I expect them to come out swinging in this Purdue team. I totally expect to come out with some punches thrown. When you look at their stats, they're a decent team overall. Sure, they might be allowing more points and more yards than they're actually getting, but in terms of where they rank in the Big Ten, they're not a bad team. I don't think Rondale Moore has played up to his full potential quite yet, especially last week. I know the Minnesota game, he was insane. However, last week, just not the best. David Bell, also not the best, but with Jack Plummer at the helm, maybe they go back to Aiden O'Connell this week. I don't really know. We'll have to see what they do against Nebraska, but Purdue does not move. They stay at number 7. Maryland also does not move after that loss against Indiana, and this just because of their record, but this Maryland offense couldn't get anything going against an Indiana defense, and the Indiana offense is just too good. Again, scoring points is what Indiana does best this season. So Maryland right here at number 6. Again, they didn't move just because Purdue also lost as well, and I can't move Minnesota up this high. But they do stay at 2-2. You look at overall now, points per game, not an impressive number, the yards per game. In the Big Ten, 400 yards, that's good. But again, it's the defense, much like the story of Minnesota, that is really killing this team. Now, the game against Michigan is in limbo. Of course, we have no idea if that game is going to be played or not. It's maybe leaning towards not. So we could have a possible 3 games canceled in the Big Ten this week, which I would not be looking forward to at all. However, you got to do what you got to do in order to preserve the health and safety of the players and coaches and staff. That is the most important thing. Maryland coming off a loss, maybe should look for a bounce-back game against Michigan. I definitely think it's a game they can win. But again, I'm going to keep drilling them the same thing I'm drilling Minnesota. Stick with your defense. Get your defense better because the offense has potential. We've seen what their offense can do, but the defense just has to get better. Maryland is going to stay here at number 6. Number 5 is Wisconsin. After they didn't play last week, they finally drop a spot just because I feel like they've played too little. And again, the rankings you see among the Big Ten teams, it's very skewed because they've only played 3 games. It was against Northwestern, which was a defensive battle, so the numbers were skewed maybe a little bit. Not purposefully, of course, but and then they have just played some not very good teams. Are looking like they played Michigan, they played Illinois. Now, I think both those teams are decent, not excellent. Now, next week they do get to play Indiana, which I think is going to be Wisconsin's first true test this season. Again, I don't have much more to say about Wisconsin because their game got canceled last week due to positive tests within the Minnesota program, except the fact that they're no longer eligible for the Big Ten championship game, which I find as a very, very sad thing. I don't feel like anyone should be told that they're not allowed to go to a championship game because they've only played 4 or 5 games. That just shouldn't be right. It's not their fault. They've had to deal with COVID. But, hey, this is the world we live in which Kevin Warren seems to run. So, Wisconsin drops the spot to number 5. And they drop a spot because Iowa just keeps getting more and more impressive. To me, they get a win against Nebraska. And while it wasn't a clean win, a win is a win nonetheless. They move up a spot. They're at number 4, finding themselves with a record of 4-2. And while their offense might not be great in the yards per game category, their defense is forcing turnovers, and their offense is getting the short field and turning that into points. It's the same story with another team you're going to see here in a couple of slides. Now they get Illinois next week, and I don't want to put the upset alert button on quite yet, but I do feel like Iowa should watch out for the game. Illinois is playing some pretty decent football right now. I don't know that Iowa fans have too much to worry about in that game. However, it still could be an interesting game. Iowa finds themselves in the top 25 of the college football playoff poll. That comes out about the same time that you're going to see this video come out, which again, I totally believe that this Iowa team is a good enough team, and if it hadn't been for those 2 early losses, maybe they could still be a contender in the West, but because of the loss already to Northwestern, they just gelled too late, so they're not going to be able to reach the Big Ten championship game, at least the way it's looking like. However, Iowa's playing some really good football right now. I don't think you can be disappointed. If you are a Hawkeye fan, they have definitely exceeded my expectations. They're going to be right here at number 4. Dropping a spot from last week due to a shocker loss against Michigan State, the Northwestern Wildcats, which no longer have an undefeated record. They are here at number 3. Again, it was that lack of offense for Northwestern that killed them in this game. Killed them. With Michigan State's offense got going, when Northwestern's defense just couldn't stop them, that offense could not generate points. And I'm not saying Northwestern's offense doesn't have talent, because I think Northwestern's offense has a lot of great talent. I just don't think they exploited it as well as they could have in this game. I mean, Michigan State's a decent defense, but Northwestern's got some real weapons on offense. Still the Big Ten West leading candidate for the Big Ten championship game, but I don't know that they're going to be able to make the college football playoff now with a loss. I mean, maybe it's a long shot, but I mean, every team deals with upsets, but that's also the price you pay, especially in the shortened season if you are a Big Ten team. Dropping a spot here just had to make sense to me. I mean, it was really close between this team and the team you're going to see at number 2. But now, the Big Ten's hope of a playoff is looking very, very slim. Northwestern had a shot. Now I don't know if they have much of a shot. Their game against Minnesota next week has already gotten canceled, so Northwestern will miss a contest next week, which is a sad day for Northwestern. However, Northwestern has pretty much punched their ticket to the Big Ten championship game. So we will see them in a couple of weeks in the championship game, and hopefully we will see them not this week, but next week back on the football field. Northwestern drops spots number 3, which means Indiana rises a spot to number 2. With their win against Maryland 27-11, they improve to 5-1. And if the Ohio State game gets canceled next week, seems to be the front runners to play Northwestern in that Big Ten championship game, although it is clearly Ohio State right now. They get Wisconsin next week, which should be a very, very interesting game and another good test for this Indiana team. Now, this Indiana team is dealing with some sad news as quarterback Michael Penix is going to be done for the season with a torn ACL, so they're going to have to rely on the backup in a time that Michael Penix is playing absolutely fantastic. It's going to be really interesting to watch that game against Wisconsin and just see how good these offensive weapons are with a backup quarterback, because Michael Penix can absolutely sling it. Now, I know Michael Penix is going to be back next season. However, I don't know that Indiana with a backup quarterback is going to be able to match up against this Wisconsin defense. Again, more preview for this game coming on Thursday, but with that loss, I was very hesitant to put Indiana at number 2, but because they won and Northwestern lost, it had to be done, which means the number 1 team is going to stay the Ohio State Buckeyes, and it has all season. Now, this team is, of course, dealing with COVID issues, and we hope they can get back on the field after their game against Illinois was canceled. But they can't afford to lose another game as per Big Ten rules as of right now, which is not a great thing. Again, I don't think the Big Ten should have set any restrictions. And I'm not going to talk about Ohio State too long because I would just keep saying the same things I said last week. But we hope this team can get back on the field if the Big Ten wants to make the college football playoff. Ohio State is, in my opinion, their best and only hope right now. And it all depends on whether on whether Ohio State can get back on the field, and then whether or not Michigan can get back on the field. I still think they have a shot even if they don't make the Big Ten championship game. However, it's going to be close. But Ohio State stays at number 1. All right, that is going to do it for my Big Ten Week 6 power rankings. And if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. Also consider subscribing if you are brand new to the channel or you just enjoy my content. Turn the notification bell so you don't miss an upload and you can join Tailgate Nation. Also, please leave a comment down below. You can give me your power rankings and disagree with me all you want. Also, share this video with everyone you know. I'm trying to grow the channel as big as possible. So feel free to share this video with everyone you know who likes college football, Big Ten football, as much as you and me. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I will see all of you guys on Thursday with my week preview. Goodbye.